So what has John told you about this? Okay, well, the reason why I'm here is that John's training to be a representative with our company, and he's not yet licensed. Our company's in a 3 to 5 year expansion period, and John's one of our new associates. All we're going to do tonight is tell you a little bit about our company and what it is that we do. I don't know if you guys will see anything that will interest you or anything you think you can benefit from, but if so, we'll talk more about that. Usually what happens when we sit down with families is they'll respond in one of several ways. One, they like what we do, but maybe they're already taken care of, or for whatever reason the timing isn't right, but they might know others that can benefit from what we do and they're happy to refer them to us. Or two, they find that we are able to help them, and at that point we'll prepare a complimentary financial needs analysis for them and we'll offer them some solutions. Or three, whether they become clients or not, sometimes they're looking to make extra income or possibly even a career change, and we'll talk to them about representing us because we're looking to grow significantly over the next few years. What we do is we teach families about financial planning. Now, the concepts that we talk about are not new. In fact, they're concepts that the wealthy have practiced in America for decades. We're just about the only company that takes this information to the families that need it the most, and that's the middle income segment. The tool that we use to help our families become properly protected, debt-free, and financially independent is a financial needs analysis. Now, most companies, they charge for a service like this, and we do this service for free. Okay? So now I know that John talked to you guys about life insurance. He said you guys were extremely interested in finding out about that. So I'd love to show you guys some options on that. Now, if I can show you guys a program that's within your budget and meets your family's needs, is that something that you guys would be interested in doing today? Yes? Okay, great. All right, well, what I need to do to run a proposal for you, to run a scenario for you, is I just need to get a little bit of information from you guys, okay? So I'm going to go ahead on my system here and start off by getting the correct spellings on your guys' names. So let's see here. So how do you spell your first name? It's Kevin. All right, so let me put that in there. And Kevin, what's your last name? Smith. All right, we'll put that in there. Okay, what about your wife? Your name is Sarah. Okay, so we'll put that in there. And your last name is Smith also, obviously, right? Sarah Smith. Okay, now, Kevin, what's your birth date? Okay, 10/24. All right, and 1989. Gotcha. Okay, so you just had a birth date. Oh, great. And Sarah, how about you? When is your birthday? Oh, October also. October 1st. So you just had a birthday too. And the same year. Great. 1989. All right, we'll go there. Gender, male, female. We'll go forward there. Excellent. All right, now, one of the first things I would like to show you guys in regards to life insurance, or really kind of our financial programs that we do, is I'd like to show you what we call the theory of decreasing responsibility. Now, it really is the heart of what financial planning was supposed to be based off of, okay? But here's what you're going to find with us. We don't really have a high regard for the life insurance industry as a whole. We feel that they've taken a real need and it's twisted and sold very deceptively today to the middle income families. We find that when we sit down with families that already have coverage programs in place, we find they're either overinsured or underinsured or paying way too much for the wrong type of coverage. And so what we'll do is we want to introduce this concept to families, okay? And so, for example, what you'll see here, this is what we call the theory of decreasing responsibility. And if you'll notice, there are two bars on this program here, okay? We have the blue bar, which represents your coverage program, and this green bar, which represents your savings program. And what it states is simply this, that in the early years, if this was a timeline, in the early years, the amount of coverage that a family would need is typically higher early on. The reason is because your liabilities are higher earlier on in life. For example, when you buy a home, you owe more in year 1 than you do in year 30, right? Your children, when they are young, they are dependent fully on you 100% for financial support. But when they get to 25 and 30, they don't typically need you the same way financially as they do when they're 3 years old, right? So the amount of coverage you need through time will start to decrease. At the same time, early in life, your savings and investments, they're relatively small because you're just starting out. But if you do the principles and the techniques that we teach our families, that through systematic savings through time, their investments will grow. And eventually, they will become what's called self-insured, which means that if they needed $100,000 to take care of their family, or $200,000 to take care of their family if they lost one of a loved one, they have that money in their savings and investments, and they're no longer dependent on a life insurance program. And they are now what we would call self-insured. Okay, so what we teach families is that during this duration period, before they're self-insured, they do need coverage to do like a term coverage program, because it's far less expensive to do. Any money they save by doing that, put that into a savings or investment program so that they can get a better rate of return. That is the opposite of what the life insurance industry would like for families to do. What they would like for families to do, instead of only paying for it the period that they need it, they would rather you pay for it your whole life or your entire life. But if you stop and think about that for a moment, who really wins the most if you're dependent on life insurance forever? The insurance companies, and that's how they've been taking advantage of families drastically over the last several hundred years, right? So having said that, do you have any questions on that so far? No? Okay. Well, the second part, and I know that was what you guys are really interested in finding out about how our life insurance program works, but I also want to talk to you about, to complete the theory of decreasing responsibility, we do a lot of planning for retirement as well. And so I'm going to ask you a few questions, and based off how you respond, it's actually going to allow us to do a quick retirement assessment for you guys as well. Okay, so let me ask you first, Kevin, what age, if you could pick any age, what age ideally would you guys like to see for retirement? 60? Okay. And how about you, Sarah? You're 65 or so? Okay. Why don't we, what if we compromised and we said like 62 years old? How does that sound okay? If we just plan hypothetically for 62 to see what you guys would need? Yeah? Okay. Well, what that tells us here, based off of the theory of decreasing responsibility and our savings program, that means that we have 36 years to plan. You have 36 more years to work till you get to age 62. Okay? So during that time period, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how much you would actually need when you get to age 62. So in order to do that, we got to get an assessment of your current income status. Okay, so Kevin, what's your current income right now? How much you roughly make on a monthly basis before taxes? So $2,800. Okay, so let me enter that into our system. And Sarah, I know you work also, right? So what do you make roughly on a monthly basis right now before taxes? The same, $2,800. Okay. So let me enter that in. All right, so combined right now on a monthly basis before taxes, you guys make about $5,600 a month, okay? So my next question to you, if you were able to retire today, not 36 years from now, let's say you were able to retire today or tomorrow, how much do you guys think you would need to live off of every month if you retired tomorrow? Assuming that your home was paid off, your kids were grown and they are now independent, you don't really have any debt left, you do have expenses, food, utilities, stuff like that, but how much do you think you guys would still need to live off of every month if that happened today? Well, okay, so let me help you with that, kind of give you some national averages. Typically, families, if they're very frugal, they're usually like 50% of their current income they could live off of if they had no debt, right? Some families, though, the national averages are right around 70% of their current income. Some families want 100% of their income because they'd like to really maybe live it up in retirement. But which one, where would you guys say best describes you guys in your situation? About 70%? Okay. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to enter that number in here, 70%. And that tells us that, so you would need, if you retire today, if you had $3,920 coming to you every single month with no house payment, no car payments, no credit cards, stuff like that, your son and daughter were independent on their own, that you guys could actually live off of $3,900 today. Does that sound right? Yeah? Okay, well, good. All right. Well, the problem, though, is that we're not retiring today. We got 36 years to go. So what I'd like to show you is that because of inflation, we have to figure out what's $3,900 going to be in the future. So because of inflation, here's your number. You'd actually need $11,361 in the future. That's the same as $3,900 is today. So what you need from us is a retirement program that's going to pay you out $11,000 a month, not $3,900 a month. Okay, so how much money do we have to accumulate? Well, what I'm about to show you next is what we call your financial independence number, FIN for short, or FIN number. It is an extremely, extremely valuable piece of information for you to have. A lot of financial planners charge families to find out this number, and we're going to show this to you for free. It's part of our program, okay? So your FIN number is to have $11,361 paid out to you during your retirement. Let's see here. Let's calculate it in here for you. Just give it a minute here as it comes to for you. Clicked on it there. There we go. Your FIN number is $2.7 million. Okay? That's the number you have to have put together for you guys to get to retirement. Now, you're smiling. I know you think that it seems like a lot of money. In fact, the reality is when people see their FIN numbers for the very first time, they think like, wow, that's a lot of money. I don't know that we make that much less how are we going to save that. And so this is where we start teaching some very important financial principles about investing. One of the things that we recommend for a lot of families in your situation is to invest in things like mutual funds, okay? Are you familiar with investing at all with things like mutual funds, retirement plans? Do you guys have any background in that at all? Not much? A little bit? Yeah, a little bit? Okay. Well, here's what we typically find is that most families, they have a little bit of an understanding usually, but not a great depth of understanding of how all of this works, right? Most people know mutual funds are good, we should do them, but that's about all they really know. So we tell our families a few things that that are important at this point. Number one is that to invest in a mutual fund, it's actually one of the safest type of investments you can make in America today because of the diversification. That's why most retirement plans are invested in mutual funds. The next thing about that is that historically speaking, to invest in a mutual fund, you typically will see much better rates of return, much higher performance than you would like on a life insurance policy, a whole life insurance policy, or a universal life policy, right? Or through investing through your bank, like a CD at a bank, or just your traditional savings account. So in terms for getting better performance and better return on your money, typically a mutual fund is a great avenue for you to do. And then the third thing to know is that usually to do a mutual fund, if you did some research and you said, okay, well, that's great, I want to start investing in a mutual fund. The second part is, where do you do it? You might go to your bank, or if you went to a brokerage firm, usually they have minimums to start. And we've seen them for as little as, they have minimums, like $1,000 to start one. Some are $5,000, some are $10,000 minimums just to start their investment accounts. We'll start a family in a mutual fund for as little as $25 a month. And we get very passionate about that, very excited about that, because we know how important that is for families to be investing. And we've basically broken the barrier down to allow it to make it affordable for all families to start investing, okay? All right, so let's get a little bit more depth on your retirement plans right now. Now, do you guys currently have any kind of retirement that you've started through work right now? Any kind of like 401ks, 403bs, TSAs, anything like that you have current? Nothing, you haven't started anything right now. Do they offer you anything? No. Okay. That's not uncommon today. A lot of jobs don't offer retirement plans anymore. It used to be everybody had them. A lot of them just don't do them very much anymore. Okay. Well, the reason why I asked is we wanted to try to see, to get an assessment if you had any monies to kind of project what we think that might be, what it might grow to in your future, right? So of the 2.7 million, basically what it's showing is that you would need to come up with all of that on your own, okay? All right, so let's see. Now back to the life insurance part of the program. I started off by saying that we don't have a high regard for the life insurance industry. The other reason why we don't have a high regard is because we don't agree with how they market it. They usually will sell it in one of two ways. One, they'll sell it saying like, how much do you want? And the average family will say, I don't know, like 100,000 or 150,000 of coverage because it sounds like a lot of money. Or they'll ask them, how much can you afford? And based off of that, then they give them an amount, right? And we don't really agree with those. What our program does is it bases it off a needs basis. We're going to ask a family a series of questions, and based off how they respond to that will pinpoint the exact amount of coverage they would need, okay? So I'm going to take you through this process, ask you some questions, and we're going to find out what your exact need would be, if any, based off how you respond, okay? So Kevin, I'll ask you first. If something happened to you, is the idea that you would like to see a program that would come in and pay for your guys' house, would that be important to you? Yes? Okay, great. What would you estimate that you owe on your house right now? Do you have any idea how much you owe on it? You do? Okay. 125. Okay, so I'll enter that in there. All right, what about any kind of consumer debt? Like cars, credit cards, anything like that, that if something happened to you, that you would want to see a program pay for that so that Sarah's not left with the payments on that. Your car, okay. Do you know how much you owe on it? About 10,000. Okay, so I'll add that in there as well. Okay. And what about college for your children? Is that something that you'd like to see? No, probably not. Okay, all right. Funeral coverage. We always recommend that at least a funeral coverage is in there, okay? And now the big one will be what we call survivor income. Now, Kevin, I'm going to ask you, but we'll have Sarah kind of help you with this. If something were to happen to you, we're showing a program that's going to pay off your house, pay off any consumer debt that you have, the car, it's going to pay for your funeral coverage, but now your income is gone. Is there any amount of your income that you would want Sarah to still get on a monthly basis, or Sarah that you think you would still need on a monthly basis? If so, how much? Okay. No, that's a good answer. Okay, so about $2,500 a month. Sure. I mean, that's actually a good answer because we typically recommend a percentage of your income. Because especially that you have children, you would think that the children still need expense. They're going to have stuff. They're young now, but eventually they'll be in middle school. Eventually they'll be in high school if they play sports or travel. I mean, they're going to need that income, right? So we recommend till your youngest turns 18. So how old is your daughter? I know she's the youngest, right? She is 5. Okay, so we've got 13 years. So the income came in, the $2,500 a month, till she turned 18. Then that would cover all the expense typically, right, for that. Okay, now we're going to ask Sarah. Now, same scenario. If Sarah, something happened to you, is the idea that we'd want to take care of the house as well? Yeah, I'm assuming yes, right? Everything pretty much the same. Okay. But what about survivor income for you now? If something happened to Sarah, Kevin, now her income is gone. Now we've paid off the home. We've done all these things. Is there any amount of income that you think you would still need? Nothing? You're smiling, Sarah. Okay. Yeah, well, let me help you, Kevin. A lot of times it's very common for guys to think they wouldn't need any survivor income. However, what we fail to factor in is that with children, there's child expense, child costs, there's things that we don't realize that we would incur with the loss of our spouse. So yeah, I would recommend at least 2,000. Yeah. Okay, so we'll put that in, especially because they're a little bit younger. Okay, and we'll do it for the same time period, for the 13-year period as well. Okay, so based off of that now. The coverage needs that we found out that we need, it's $500,000 on you, Kevin, and it's like $433,000 for you. So that's your coverage need. Those are the amounts. If you had those coverage amounts on you, you would be completely protected with the right kind of program. All right. Now, one of the questions that I always ask families when I sit down with them as I'm putting a program together for them is what they think that they could comfortably set aside on a monthly basis to put back into a program like this. For things like their coverage program and their savings for their retirement, okay? The key word, though, in there is kind of comfortably, an amount that you think that you might not even really miss, okay? Now, if you had to say an amount, what would you guys say is kind of comfortable for you guys? About 200? Sarah, does that sound fair? Yeah, 200? Yeah? So about 100 from your check and 100 from your check, you wouldn't miss that much. Okay, so about 200, that's your guys' budget. Okay. All right, so let me let my system do a few calculations for you guys here. All right, and let's go here. All right, so just bear with me a few minutes here while I get this to do this here. Right. How's your day been going so far? Good? Great. Now, where do you work at, sir? I know you work, but where do you work at? You're a teacher. Okay, great. Let's see here. So I'm going to go retirement. All right, I'm going to go. Okay, I'm going to put the numbers in here. Almost done. So just give me a second here. All right. So here's what I can do for you guys. Okay, here's a program that I can recommend. To do your full protection program that we just showed, the $505,000 on you, Kevin, and the $400,000+ on you, Sarah, which again, what's that going to do? That's going to pay off the house. That's going to pay off any debt, and that's going to leave your guys' survivor income so that you have that your guys' income continues to come in. So protection-wise, you'd be completely set. You would never need another program. You're done with that. Okay. To do that with us, that's almost 940,000 of coverage. It's almost $1 million in coverage combined. With us would be 120 to do that. Okay. And so going off your budget of 200, that still leaves us about $80. We could start that into your savings for retirement because we don't have anything set right now. And by doing that, that puts us at about $200,000 that you guys would have for your retirement. Now, I realize it's not the 2.7 million, but it's a great start. Because what we know through time, that as you get raises and income increases, what people typically will do is they will increase their savings through time, okay? So for you guys, we can do those programs all within your budget, okay? All I would need to do is just get a little bit more information from you, a little bit of medical information from you, questions, and we can see if we can qualify you guys for the programs, okay? Does that sound okay? Yeah, good. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to hit apply now. It's going to start my program for